providing unique perspectives on civil preparedness and emergency response. This is Mitigation Journal, the All Hazards podcast.
And welcome back to Mitigation Journal, the All Hazards podcast. My name is Rick Rosati. This is the place where we provide you unique perspectives on emergency management and emergency response. Tonight we are talking about emergency incident rehabilitation and cold weather operations. And joining me today on the podcast is Dr. Jeremy Cushman. He is the medical director for Monroe County and the Monroe-Livingston Regional EMS System here in Rochester, New York. Dr. Cushman, thank you very much and happy holidays.
Thanks, Rick. Always a pleasure.
Doctor, tonight we are talking about the important topic of emergency incident rehabilitation, something that we've actually come to take for granted in the last couple of years since NFPA 1584 came into play about 2007. And we're turning the topic a little bit today towards dealing with changes in the weather and cold weather situations. Dr. Cushman, can you chime in for a few minutes on the topic of why we need to do emergency incident rehabilitation?
Well, certainly, Rick. I mean, the data is actually really concerning when you look at causes of firefighter deaths around the country annually. The vast majority of those are related to cardiovascular disease, and that cardiovascular disease and those deaths that occur are not just truly on the fire ground, but upwards of a few hours after they leave the fire ground. So if we're not keeping track of our people, both from an accountability and from a health safety perspective, while they're on the fire ground, they go home, they go back to quarters, and unfortunately, a sizable percentage of them can have significant health consequences from that. So, rehab is one of those things that is really important to keep everybody in the fight and to keep everybody going home safely.
And that is the key, is to keep your resources on the ground doing what they're supposed to do. And, of course, making sure they're able to come back for the next one. Now, we've talked several times before on this topic, you and I, and I think it's important to really briefly discuss for the listeners that this is not just, or emergency incident rehabilitation is not just a summertime or hot weather type of event. We've got to be doing rehab at every event 12 months a year. Would you agree with that, Doc?
Oh, absolutely, and I think we tend to lose sight of that. You have a nice cool fall day up here in the Northeast, or we've had a relatively mild first start of the winter here in the Rochester area, and we tend to lose track of the fact that, geez, it's not hot. I don't need to drink water. I don't need to do the essentials of rehab. But rehab is so much more than just hot weather, getting into the shade, drinking a little bit of water. It's all the essentials of assuring the vital signs and personal performance are within normal parameters, assuring that our personnel are physically and mentally capable, quite frankly, of leaving the scene or being reassigned to another task while still at that scene. And the hazards for heat exhaustion and overexertion are actually just as great, if not greater, in the wintertime than in the summertime.
And that's something I think most people don't quite grasp, is that we deal with the risk of dehydration 12 months a year. And some sources might actually say, Doc, that dehydration can be actually worse or more insidious in the wintertime because we really don't notice the fluid losses through exhalation, let's say. And, when we talk about rehab in the summertime, well, maybe we could put up some type of quick pop-up shelter, give us some shade, and conduct a rehabilitation out in the environment. But when it comes to winter, especially here in a changing climate where we go from season to season, we're not dealing with these cold temperatures all the time. We often don't think of the need for rehabilitation and then the logistics of setting up rehabilitation in the colder environment. We've got to talk about now how we actually accomplish this task and the added problems we run into with protective gear and such. And that's going to wrap up part one in our four-part series on emergency incident rehabilitation. I'd like to thank Dr. Jeremy Cushman, Monroe County Medical Director, for joining me on this series. In part two, we'll discuss the special logistical needs of emergency incident rehabilitation for cold weather operations. Until then, this is Rick Rosati for Mitigation Journal, the All Hazards podcast, reminding you to support all your emergency service bloggers and podcasters. And stay safe, everybody.